Hey gang, Dr. G, Imaginarium. So ongoing with the series on relapse prevention and staying strong. So today we've talked about already in the past videos about the different types of relapse: emotional relapse, mental relapse. Once mental relapse is in full swing, the next is physical relapse. This is usually it works like this: you have one use, and then after that, that's sort of like a lapse, and then relapse is when you drift into uncontrolled usage. At this point, the person is also typically overtaken with obsessive or uncontrolled use of continually thinking about the next use, so forth and so on. It can be that intense. Now, as I've been saying, you can expand this out to non substance related addictive behaviors, just general things that you're wanting to change about yourself that have an addictive quality to it. Now, many relapses are relapses of opportunity. It's essentially, well, you're in a situation where you won't necessarily get caught, and the barriers to using then are lifted in terms of like people aren't watching you and so forth. Relapse prevention is not just about saying no right before you're about to use, right? That's what you see in movies a lot of times. They're holding the bottle in their hand and then they pour it out and then they go off and do the thing. That's great for fiction, which is a very concentrated and in many ways symbolic way of telling a truth, but it's not reflective of the actual process, which is a whole lot messier. In fact, if you're thinking relapse prevention is just saying no right before you're about to use, you're in trouble, because at that point your risk for relapse is extremely high. You're already basically set up and you're in great danger of relapsing if you've gotten to that point by now. So then the question is, how do I prevent getting to that place? What are the things that leads people down this road? And there's a number of different thinking traps that I want to identify for you to take a look at. We're going to go through 12 of these real quick. And what I want you to do is think about these in terms of basically they're kind of like free passes that people give themselves. Stephen Richards from the IPSA uses the term neurotic alibis, and I absolutely love that. If you're not familiar with his stuff, go check out Young to Live By. The link's in the description. It's fantastic stuff. So the things I'm going to list for you right now are basically neurotic alibis. Now, before I get into them, though, I don't want you to look at these and think, oh, I do that, therefore I should feel bad about myself. That's not the point of this at all. These are things everybody does, right? No one's exempt from any of this kind of stuff. It's just these are things that we do. So the trick here is to identify when you're doing it and then achieve mastery over them. So the first one that people do is they tend to think about their problem, their addictions, whatever, in terms of everything being caused by other people. That's something in psychology we talk about called external locus of control. Okay, keep an eye out for that one, because many times you're just using that as an excuse not to make any action yourself. Number two is I can't cope without using. It's really just a very all or nothing way of looking at the world. And it's not true. Of course you can. Many people have proven themselves that are able to do it. It's an excuse. It's an alibi. If I can't cope without using, if I literally can't, well, then that gives me a license to continue to relapse and use all the time. Three, maybe I can just use a little bit. Okay. I can do it a little bit. If you've already proven many times in the past that you can't, well, then the risk is high that it's very likely you won't be able to use just a little. Life won't be any fun without using. How do you know? Right? Really question that. I'll turn into someone I don't like if I don't stop using. Again, this is another one. It's just a thing that people think. It gives them a free pass, an excuse to continue using. So keep an eye open for that one. I can't change my friends. And this is a general principle. When people say I can't, often what they mean is I don't want to. Those are not the same things, though. Okay. Keep a close eye on that. That's another alibi that we'll use. I don't want to abandon my family. That's a tough one. But sometimes you do have to if your family is one of the reasons why you keep using. And I don't mean because it's all their fault. What I mean is that whatever dynamics are at play there are things that push you in that direction. If the only way that you can deal with it is to separate yourself from them or pull away from them to some degree, you may have to make that choice in order to keep your sanity or even your life. But again, it's not all or nothing. It's very rarely is it that black and white. So that's a tough one, but you want to look at that. Recovery is too hard. That's number 8. Yeah, it is hard work, but it's not too hard. And what you've basically done at this point is forgotten the reasons why you're doing it. Number 9 are my cravings are impossible to resist. And again, that's a nice get out of jail free card, basically. They are difficult to resist, but they're not impossible. And there are ways that you can manage the cravings. So that's what you really need to do if you notice yourself having that thought. Where are we at here? Number 10, I have no hope because I will always fail. This is again an excuse to continue using because you basically just given up hope. But the fact is that it's really much more likely that you just haven't figured out exactly how to do it. This is a process. This is a skill. It takes practice. Okay. No one can walk into a martial arts studio and become a black belt in one day. Okay. You've got to do the work and put the work in. And to go in there and be annoyed by the people that have great mastery is really ego inflated, because why should you get to sidestep all of the hard work? Okay. It's all right. Just do the work. It'll be worth it. Number 11, no one has to know if I relapse. Well, the problem with that one, of course, is you're not just doing it to avoid you're not just trying to avoid the addiction because you don't want people to catch you. You're also doing it for yourself. So, and wherever you go, there you are. You can't avoid that. And then number 12 is I'm too far gone. This is kind of a variation of the previous one about giving up hope. But unless you're dead, you're not too far gone. You may have done irreparable damage, that's true, but you don't have to keep doing more. So don't use that as an excuse to keep using, keep fighting. So that's what I've got for you today. These are really important thinking patterns that people can fall into, traps, if you will, that lead them to emotional and mental relapse if they're not careful. And therapy and self-work and self-development can really help us get out of these bad habits. And you'll find that when you do that, it will affect way more than just an addiction. It affects many, many different things. So go ahead and check out ericgoodwyn.com. I got all kinds of stuff going on over there right now, especially I've got book trailers and covers for my upcoming books, fiction and nonfiction. I've got a Jungian analysis of toxic modern society on the nonfiction side. And then later on this year will be available for pre-order for my fantasy novel, King of the Forgotten Darkness. That's what I got for you today. See you next time.